on the 1st of March will not take off after an investigation was launched by Parliament into the matter. The investigation was prompted by a petition from political leaders of Mukono and Wachiso districts who cited several issues that we will look at today. This petition has opened up many issues, including how Pioneer Easy Bus Company was licensed in the first place. Last week, Parliament directed all stakeholders to halt any business in relation to bus operations after reaching an agreement that the contract of Pioneer Easy Bus Company was null and void. Today, the Committee of Local Government and Public Service, which is investigating the matter, met with KCCA, and it was later established that the contract was actually still valid. Parliament is also investigating circumstances under which Pioneer Easy Bus acquired a guarantee from government for the purchase of the 522 buses when a similar approach 1 year ago was rejected by then Finance Minister Saida Bumba. Despite all these controversies, MPs and KCCA agreed in principle that the bus services are necessary, but insisted that the issues that have emerged must first be addressed. So tonight we take a look at the root of the issues being raised now and how Parliament can help without killing off the proposed services that the public is eagerly waiting for. Our guest tonight, Hon Betty Nambooze, Mukono Municipality MP, also Shadow Minister for Local Government and lead petitioner of our introduction of bus services. You're most welcome, Hon Nambooze.
Thank you.
We were expecting to be joined by Mr. Fred Ssenoga, the Executive Director of Pioneer Easy Bus, but just before the show began, he called in to say he was unable to make it.
Okay.
Honorable Nambooze, let's look at the roots of this issue.
First of
all was well as far as plans to introduce bus services is concerned before you petitioned Parliament, saying Mukono and Wachiso district had an issue with this. What's the problem you have with this bus company?
First of all, let me start with greeting the listeners. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm happy to be here. It's quite very unfortunate that Mr. Ssenoga cannot be here with me, and it seems this thing is following me. When I was here last time over the issue of buses, I was to meet here the permanent secretary. But the last
the issue of bicycles.
The issue of bicycles.
So the secretary got a fever.
He got a fever at the last minute. Now let me pray to God that Mr. Fred Ssenoga also is not faced with a bigger problem. But to start with, I'm a messenger. Betty Nambooze is a messenger in this matter, executing my mandate as the MP for Mukono Municipality, one of the areas that shall be greatly affected by the operations of the buses, and also executing my mandate as the Shadow Minister for Local Government. The petition before the Public Service and Local Government Committee was presented on the 14th of October 2011, and it was signed by over 100 local leaders from the districts of Mukono, Wachiso, especially from the municipalities of Entebbe and Mukono, the town councils of Wachiso, Nansana, and Ikira. The subject matter was summarized in paragraph 3 of the petition, but in summary, the petitioners are challenging the manner in which the traffic and road safety city bus regulations were made. This is instrument number 7 of 2011, that the regulations were drawn without consulting the stakeholders, and 2, they are challenging the capacity of Kampala Capital Authority, their capacity to make an inter-district agreement. And our prayers, we made 2 prayers. Of course, Parliament may please to grant us more than we prayed for after investigations. But I will start with prayer number 1.
Yes.
We are seeking for a review of the traffic and road safety city bus service regulations 2011. And this has nothing to do with Pioneer. It's a law. In February 2011, as the whole country was consumed in the elections, the then Minister of Transport, Honorable Nasasira John, came up with a statutory instrument which provides for the city service in Kampala city and in the greater Kampala metropolitan area. This is a subsidiary law, it's not an act of parliament. The modern trend is that when you are making a subsidiary law, since the representatives of the people are not with you, because it's not an act of parliament, for when it is an act of parliament, first of all, the people are represented. Two, a parliament does make consultations with various people through meetings, public hearing, and what have you. But particularly when you are making a subsidiary legislation, like an instrument by the minister, you are supposed to consult the stakeholders.
Yes.
So that they can also have an input. But as I told you, that the rest of the country was consumed in elections,
yes,
and we did not have the opportunity to make an input. One, for starters, metropolitan area, what we call a Greater Kampala Metropolitan Area, is a creation of the Kampala Capital City Act of 2010, and it includes the districts of Mukono, Wakiso, Mpigi, and Kampala. That is what we call the Greater Kampala Metropolitan Area.
Yes.
So, what is wrong with this law? You may ask. The instrument, what we want to be looked at in particular. First of all, the law provides for the establishment of a bus service. When this project is rolled out, forget about Pioneer. I'm not talking about Pioneer with this. Yes. It can be Pioneer or any other service provider.
Yes.
So when the project is rolled out, it is supposed to be a monopoly.
Right, according to what is written down
in the law and in the subsequent agreements. Whoever takes this concession is supposed to run a monopoly, whereby you are supposed to provide buses, 62-seater capacity buses.
Yes.
The idea behind this is to decongest the city, which we support in principle.
Yes.
And then, where you cannot provide for the 62-seater capacity buses, you are supposed to bring in coasters with a capacity, seating capacity of 20 passengers. Eventually, this law seeks to phase out the 14-seater commuter taxis, the Commoniers,
yes,
which is fine with us.
Right.
But then, one, when you are introducing such a grand project, you must consult everybody.
Right.
People are now investing in these matatus, Commoniers.
Yes.
They are mortgaging their properties to buy. Yes. They are taking bank loans. They are selling off their properties to invest in this transport business. Right. So if you intend to phase them out, please be as open as possible. Let everybody know that here we have this project for these reasons, and in the future, in the districts of Mukono, Mpigi, Kampala, and Wakiso, you shall not be allowed to operate a tax of
a small company.
You put it in the open. Two, the most offending sections of this instrument are Section 2, Section 3, Section 4, 5, and 6. Although the buses are going to operate in the 4 districts, the management under the law was given to Kampala Capital City Authority.
Yes.
And here in Mukono we are saying, these buses are going to operate at our place. Then you give the management to Kampala Capital City Authority. Really, we are a government in Mukono.
Yes.
We have a government in Wakiso, we have a government in Mpigi. And these are local governments established by law.
True.
They have their own plans. One, they have already tendered out their tax packs, yes, their transport system to various service providers. We have running contracts with Utoda, we have others have with various companies, of course. And leave alone the issue of Utoda. I'm not here to defend Utoda. I'm not here to oppose Pioneer Easy Pass. No,
yes,
that's not the thing. I'm now talking about the law. So we are saying, even in Mukono as an administration, as a district, you have not notified them about this pending project.
I haven't consulted.
You have not consulted them. So, two, the law provides that Kampala Capital City Authority, the one the road mayor heads, shall determine the fares to be paid by travelers, by passengers.
Yes.
Of course, when you're talking about somebody moving from Kampala, capital city center, here to Mulagos, fine.
500.
The Lord Mayor can determine.
Yes.
But what about
Not
a passenger moving from Mukono to Katosi? What does the Lord Mayor know about Mukono and Katosi?
Yes.
What does he know about it?
Right.
Nothing.
Because both stages are in Mukono, none of them is.
We are saying review the law where you have Kampala Capital City Authority as a manager. Please include all of us. Let's have a management board which will have representation from Mukono, Wachiso, and Impage to manage the service.
Right.
3. The instrument is full of don'ts, and in modern legislation we don't introduce penal sanctions, especially in laws like these ones, regulations. These are just bus regulations, almost guidelines to facilitate the passengers and the bus operators to work smoothly. But when you introduce so many don'ts, and even penal sanctions, that if you do this, you can end up in jail for this period of time. Say, for example, they say nobody shall board a bus when that person is dirty, for example. It's just a guideline. So why do you say that if you are found, let's say like if you are found on a bus and it is discovered that you have conducted in yourself in a manner likely or in breach of one of the regulations, you can end up in Ruzira for 2 months.
Oh, really?
Yes.
According to that law.
So for us, we are saying review this law and remove the penal sanctions. What we want the guidelines the guidelines should in fact emphasize the rights of the passengers other than introducing penal sanctions against passengers. And then there are some sections of this law which at the face of it, they look to be very simple, but they mean a lot to passengers, to people who are traveling, commuting. One, that Section 41 provides that, if you may allow me to read.
Yes, please do.
Section 41.
Yes.
Section 41, for example, provides that where in the opinion of the driver or an authorized officer, a passenger or an intending passenger, not this.
Yes.
They are not only talking about a passenger.
Even an intending one.
But
waiting at a stage.
Even a person intending to travel is under the influence of alcohol or any drug.
Yes.
Of course, people who don't drink will say, so what's wrong with this? But even a drunkard has a right to travel. And it is even a policy that when you drink,
don't drive.
You don't drive. So in other words, if you drink, travel by bus. Don't drive. Park somewhere.
Yes.
And then, who will measure the level of drunkenness? They are saying, in the opinion of the driver.
Right.
If the driver, in his own opinion,
looks at you and
say, this Kizito is a bit tipsy.
Yes.
Then you are not supposed to travel.
Right.
With the bus. Mind you, the bus is going to run a monopoly. Then that
so you can't take another bus.
You're
stranded.
You will get stranded.
Walk to Mukono.
But the most offending part is part B. If in the opinion of the driver or an authorized officer, a passenger or an intending passenger causes or is likely to cause a nuisance or annoyance to other passengers, the bus driver or the authorized officer may direct that person to leave or not to enter the bus. Kizito.
Yes.
How can a driver determine that Betty Nambooze
is likely to fight?
Is likely to annoy?
Or to annoy?
To annoy another passenger. We are talking about a bus service which is going to run a monopoly.
Right.
And this gives room for victimization and abuse.
Yes.
A person, for example, they can victimize the people of a particular community, of a particular political party. They say, today there is
green and white.
They say, today there is a rally in Kampala.
We won't come
This Betty Nambooze might be traveling to Kampala to participate in that rally.
So they won't take it.
You are likely to annoy the passengers. And we are saying, please, look at the law, review it. Let's get the input of all all stakeholders.
Yes.
And give ourselves a good law, just guidelines. That is one prayer.
Right.
And we have heard that when the buses start operating, they will be paying 300,000 shillings each to Kampala Capital City Authority per month.
Yes.
But we have local authorities in Mukono.
They have not told you how much is your share.
And in Wachiso. So how much is the share? This is what has been misinterpreted by some. Of course, I know some of these people have been assisted to make in telephone calls to different radios, trying to attack the person of Betty Nambooze. But of course, I'm used to this kind of environment when we are really fighting for justice. We always get attacks, even by the very people we are trying to defend.
Yes.
So they are saying, Nambooze is saying, Funiramuwa. No,
it's not about you.
It's not about Betty Nambooze. I'm not demanding for a share as a person.
Right.
But I'm saying my local government in Mukono, we have been running a tender with Utoda. They have been paying 12 million shillings per month to the council, and this money we use it to collect garbage, to light the streets, and
public service,
to give people services in Mukono. Really, if you are going to do away with the taxes, you are phasing them out, and they are saying we shall do it gradually, whichever. But you are going to
means
deny
loss
us
of revenue.
Loss of revenue. And when we lose revenue, you should be able to compensate us. How much of this money is going to be remitted to Mukono, to Entebbe, to Chira, to Wachiso, to Nasana? These are the questions. And you cannot answer these questions when you don't cause a review of the law. Because it is the law which gives these powers to Kampala Capital City Authority. Then that is one prayer. The second prayer, we want Parliament,
yes,
and it is doing it now, to inquire, investigate into the validity
of that contract. All right.
And we have reasons for this, Mr. Kizito.
All right. Okay, this is Spectrum listeners on Radio 1 tonight. Why is Parliament expressing concerns over proposed bus services in Kampala and neighboring districts? Our guest tonight is Honorable Betty Nambooze, Mukono Municipality MP, also Shadow Minister for Local Government and lead petitioner over the introduction of bus services. So we're going for a break. We'll be back. We'll not take a break this time, but I must tell you that you will be able to call in at some stage and contribute to this discussion. We invited Mr. Fred Ssenoga, EDO, Executive Director of Pioneer Easy Bus. He called a short while to the show and said, he couldn't make it. Honorable Nambooze, what is the way forward? In principle, you say you don't disagree with the introduction of bus services. Is that what you were saying? Yes, we don't. Do you disagree with the monopoly? Do you prefer that you have more than one provider? Yes, we are against the issue of the monopoly. Of course, we have countries to look at as a capital cities, how they have done it. First of all, let me tell you about an example, what I saw in Johannesburg. Yes. At one point, there was the need to decongest Johannesburg, and they had these small commuter taxis, almost like ours. Yes. What the government did was to call upon those people who own the small vans, that you park your car, government gives you a hand, and you are given a bigger one. Buy a bigger one. No, not buying. You are given a bigger one on loan, of course. You park this one. Yes. In fact, eventually, I understand they exported the old ones too, as African countries. Right. But they would give you a brand new bigger bus in exchange for the small one. For the small one. Yes. That is one method. The other one is what is being done in China, cities in China. What government has done there is that the local authorities, the urban councils themselves, even in Dubai, do own the taxis. The taxis, these buses, the city buses are owned by the city authority. The city authority. You want something like UTC? The urban authorities, because why not? These urban councils, they don't have even
of course,
they don't have enough money to do the roads and so on.
To offer services to the people.
So they might as well make some.
They might as well give a service, one, to make money out of it.
And fill the potholes.
And fill the potholes and build the clinics and hospitals in their areas and fund schools. Of course, we should teach our government that in other countries, local governments and even the central government,
they do business.
So one issue which is disturbing me, and if I had met Mr. Ssenoga here, what is the wisdom really behind the government guaranteeing a loan to finance a business by a private person? What is the wisdom behind that? That it is the government of Uganda now
giving a guarantee.
To give a guarantee.
Like someone got letters of comfort and got 169 billion in the end.
And look at this. We are talking about $70 million.
Yes.
With guarantee Pioneer Easy Bus.
Was it 70 or 10 million?
No, they are talking, they are not even very clear. One time they talk about $33 million, then the next day you hear them. In fact, I heard Mr. Ssenoga this morning over your sister radio here. He was talking about $70 million. Why should my government give such a big guarantee to a private company? If you are an investor, be an investor. But hear this. When the new mayor of Kampala came in, that is Haji Nasantegi Sebagala, with his management style, which we all know, in May 2006, he got in touch with Fred Ssenoga, and in May 2006 at Sheraton Hotel, they launched the Pioneer Easy Bus.
2006.
That was in 2006.
Yes.
What we are discovering now is that in December 2009, Kampala Capital City that was KCC, Kampala City Council, gave a concession, made a concession agreement with Pioneer Easy Bus.
That's 3 years later.
That is 3 years later. I mean, it is.
They did some test runs.
It is quite interesting that you could launch the buses before the contract is so, and then in May 2010, a company, Pioneer Easy Bus Company, was incorporated. It's quite interesting.
Right.
When you look at these documents, you see they are tainted with fraud everywhere. Because how could it be that the buses were launched in 2006?
Yes.
The tender was awarded in 2009. The company was incorporated in 2010, and the law to provide for this was made in 2011.
Okay, so you suspect fraud there, basically?
Definitely, I don't need to be an expert.
On the government guarantee?
First of all, I don't need to be an expert to know what should have come first.
Right.
We should have had the law first, then the advertisement of the tender, maybe the company, we would have even the company. So many
other people
before, and then we would have the law, we would have the tender, and then the applications would come from fully incorporated companies, legal existing companies.
Some other companies already.
How can a company which does not exist legally win a tender of this magnitude?
Right.
So.
And get a guarantee from government.
And then get a guarantee from government. As of now, we have been told by the executive director that government was in the process of issuing these letters of comfort to Pioneer Easy Bus, and the parliamentary committee has meanwhile stayed this process, advised that this process be stayed until this petition is disposed of.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, really, who owns Pioneer Easy Bus? And this afternoon, I asked Parliament to unveil
the real owners. Well, we know Mr. Fred Ssenoga.
To request no, Mr. Fred Ssenoga is not the owner of this bus.
Yes.
According to the documents which have been submitted to Parliament, he's just an attorney. He was given powers of attorney by Pioneer Easy Bus. And we are saying, who is Pioneer Easy Bus?
What have you found? Do you know who might be owning it, actually?
Pioneer Easy Bus. I obtained some of these documents.
Yes.
from reliable sources.
Reliable sources, Honorable Nambooze, yes.
Reliable sources.
Matthew Ruchikaire, businessman, PO Box 22756, holds 4,171 shares, majority shareholder.
Do you know Matthew Ruchikaire Jr.?
Matthew N. Ruchikaire.
Do you know that one?
Well, the name sounds familiar.
He's
Ken Lloyd Logistics,
he's the
1522 Atlantis Holdings.
No, you hear this?
Yes.
Matthew Ruchikaire Jr. is the son of in-law of Honorable Amama Mbabazi. I'm not saying that relatives of politicians should not get engaged in the business.
Yes.
But they should do it transparently.
Right.
So, when you discover that...
So you suspect Honorable Mbabazi is involved?
No. I'm saying that the owners are Matthew Ruchikaire,
who marries from Mbabazi's, one of Mbabazi's daughters,
and Albert Mugunga, who marries Kutesa's daughter.
Oh, Mbabazi Kutesa. Go on, familiar name.
And then the rest of the companies. When I went to the register of companies to try to find out who are the owners of these other companies, Urban Transport Company,
Ken Lloyd Logistics,
Investro Holdings, and Atlantis Holdings. Do you know what they told me?
No.
That this file is being kept by the boss,
security,
and it is a confidential file. We can't allow you to look at it.
Right.
I'm a member of parliament.
Well, but at least you got two names.
But at least I got two names.
So you think that's where the guarantee came from?
No, we have reason to suspect.
But this man might also ask for compensation. We just came out of Harbour, 169 billion. What are you going to do?
Compensation for what?
Well, you blocked his business.
What we have?
Yeah, the man didn't even plant flowers. He got 169
What we have discovered as parliament is that they were given a concession for 1 year, and
it's supposed to be renewed for 5 years.
The terms were that in the first 4 months of the concession, they would deliver here 100 buses.
Yes.
And then in the next 60, in the next 9 months, they would deliver
the remainder.
The remainder, which is 422 buses.
Yes.
By the end of the year, they had delivered nothing.
Right.
So today, the executive director told the parliament that in fact the contract was breached, and the contract expired.
Yeah, she
so
said
there is nothing to terminate anyway.
All right.
Only that we should start afresh, advertise,
and get other players to come.
No. Let everybody bid for the tender, including Pioneer. I think they will be better pressed even to win the tender now that they have some buses, and then they have been in this business somehow, somewhere. Of course, they stand better chances. But we need to start it afresh. We must
break
start
the
afresh.
monopoly. You don't agree with the monopoly?
We should break the monopoly.
Even though Mbabazi
review the law, and then let these sons-in-laws, these privileged Ugandans, also be subjected to competition. And I think
these are people who already know. We should be able to trust them.
Yeah, but then they should.
They can deliver good service.
I mean, what Mr. Matthew Ruchikaire should strive for is to do his businesses transparently. In fact,
but you have his name there.
People who sit in the parliament, we get so sad to find these same names everywhere. Everywhere you go. When you are talking about the issue of our oil reserves in Ginger,
yes,
you'll find
those names will be there.
When you are talking about
parking for the oil rigs,
parking for the oil rigs, you will find the Matthew Ruchikaire there. For God's sake.
Everywhere you go,
there's a small family.
If there is money,
there's a few families.
You might find them.
Don't own this country, Uganda.
But we know them. We can trust them to give us a good service. Why don't you let them do this?
No. It's not that I don't trust them, but it is because I trust
equity.
I want them to be more transparent, so that they don't give us reason to doubt their integrity.
All right, we'll be hearing from the listeners shortly. But first of all, Honorable Nambooze, 522 buses, each of them giving 300,000 shillings per month to KCCA, comes to 156 million shillings every month, 156.6. How much of that would you like to have?
As Mukono?
Yes.
No. I can't answer that question. First of all, why is it 300? Why isn't it 100,000 or 500? For that matter.
Well, it sounds like a good rate.
So for me, I want a board to be established.
You want a board that...
And then this board, in fact, the law gives us what they call the Metropolitan Authority.
Yes.
To manage the metropolitan area. And as we talk now, this authority has not been constituted. It is up to the Minister of Kampala to constitute the Metropolitan Authority. And when you look at Section 21 and 22 of the Kampala Capital City Act, you will find the functions of the Metropolitan Authority, and one of the functions under Section 22 is that they will provide and plan and manage the transport services for the greater Kampala metropolitan area.
Right.
Yeah. So for us, we are saying, let's give things a firm foundation. Whenever you give a grand project like this one a false start,
there's a problem.
It will definitely collapse.
The building will crack.
Yeah.
Because the foundation is wrong.
There is this argument by individuals, Ugandans, saying Nambooze would like to have this cheap transport. I want to call upon Ugandans to stop being selfish. This is our country. Yeah, I mean, if we are all to go by those standards, I would say, Betty Nambooze, I'm a member of parliament, I own a car, I will drive myself to Kampala. But this is not a matter which touches me alone. Don't think about this issue. I say, like saying, oh, I've been paying 2,000. Now I've been promised that I will pay 1,000. Then I will be able to save 1,000 shillings. I mean, this is only the start.
You don't know what could change.
Well,
especially since they're a monopoly.
Once the taxis are phased out, and two, when you are going to phase out a full industry, like the
unemployment could arise.
Unemployment,
loss of income.
You must have created viable alternatives for the people you are going to displace.
Right.
Yeah, you must create viable alternatives for these people who are operating the taxis right now. They are also our people.
So you suspect foul play. What would you like them to do? You said you want them to open the tender. Where would you like the taxi owners to go? Where would you like them to be constituted, for instance?
For instance, government would think about taking the direction Johannesburg took.
And compensating these matatu owners.
Call them.
Or create cooperatives.
Call them, create cooperatives, and allow them to own the buses.
Or they could ask them to form a company. Maybe also get a guarantee.
In fact, if you are to tell some of these people that you can sell off 5 of your vehicles
and buy one
bus, most of them.
Or they could sell them off and create one big company and bought another 500 buses.
Give them particular routes. Say.
Right.
And people could carry passengers from up country to a certain point,
Nakawa, wherever.
But then you should have arranged that. You don't leave it in the hands of one, because according to the arrangement now, any person who is going to operate a taxi, that is
at risk. They could be thrown out.
No. That a taxi which carries about 20 passengers.
Yes.
You obtain again a license from Pioneer.
Oh, Pioneer becomes an authority. Well, we have to hear from our
Pioneer
listeners.
has become an authority. Then there are other tenderers who are going to be affected. Multiplex, for example.
The parking places.
Yeah.
All right, let's hear from you.
So what are the alternatives for parking?
This is Spectrum on Radio 1 tonight. Why is Parliament expressing concerns over proposed bus services in Kampala and neighboring districts? Our guest is Hon Betty Nambooze, well-known Mukono municipality MP, also Shadow Minister for Local Government and lead petitioner over the introduction of bus services. You can call in now on numbers 0414 348 111, 0312 260 390, 0312 261 390. Spectrum, hello.
Hello, Edmond.
Yes, your name?
My name is Wamboga Mugiria. Good evening, Honorable Nambooze.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, I like your robust stand for principled investment and also for fairness and justice. Yeah, Kampala really is yearning for a better transportation system, and the bus service is one of the most important developments we will have. I want to see a proactive and more conducive regulation of transport system. One, the bus company seem to have breached some of the contractual, guidelines and perhaps procedures. That is accepted. And if we subject it to another space, let me tell you one thing. There's one thing which is legalistic, laws and what have you, but there's another thing of people really wanting this kind of service. So we should find a middle ground where we should facilitate pioneer ease bus. When you see the buses, let them be subject to due process, due diligence. Are they high quality good buses? If they are, then we should regulate and find a way of having this service begin now. If you carried out a plebiscite, that is a vote on this thing, to be honest, the whole of Kampala would vote with their feet.
Spectrum, hello.
Yes, good evening, Edmond.
Good evening, my friend. Your name?
Now, I think
your name?
people have been very, very happy.
Your name again?
When they heard the news of the introduction of our buses in the city, but I really don't understand what's the problem with our legislators. Now, we are informed that when they introduce those buses, they will decongest the city and get rid of these taxis. But when we hear people again complaining of these buses, we really don't understand. I think those people should sit together and think about the people they are representing, because, for example, the people they are saying they are protecting, I think they are only trying to exploit them. Why don't let the buses operate?
Spectrum, hello.
Edmond.
Yes, sir. Your name?
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Edmond, mbadde nsabasonyi biri ku mulugano kubandi we Mukono ombaka wano.
Soko ntokulinnya ali Mukwano.
Banta Mayanja
Ronald Mayanja.
Naye ombaka wange we Mukono Mama Nambooze. Nze nja kunakukola nnyo Mama Nambooze okubanga ffe abantu b'owansi abakonnala ab'emikono. Ate n'ovaayo ku nsonga naffe tuba tugenda kweyagala mu mbeera y'okubanga transport tugenda kunyigiza nnyo mu transport. Ate n'ojja n'ogamba nti oyagala paati gw'obubaka abasinga olukongolo mu palamenti. Twebuuza nga ffe abaakulonda ffe ab'emikono. Nambooze kiki ogenda otuganyisa nga ne kibale tugenda okufunamu nga paati twali tugenda okufuna nga ffe bannayuganda. Nambooze nazo ziremeza abala Nambooze twakutegeddeko mbu ogenze kwageze mu Pioneer osaba ssente bakuwe ssente naye Nambooze banakuwa ssente olw'okweyagala Pioneer gozaagalamu ssente effe kyo tujja kikiriza nga ffe ab'emikono tugenda kunaabira mu maaso.
Okay.
Spectrum, hello.
Good evening, Edmond.
Yes, good evening. Your name?
Good evening, Honorable Nambooze.
Good evening, how are you?
This is Kabama Christopher calling from Ruzila.
Your name?
To tell you, Honorable Nambooze, one or two things. One thing you should know is that there are callers who call in when they are coming from other side. So, for me, what I would suggest is that don't just give your ears, just do what you're supposed to do. Now, Edmond, back to the point. For me, I wouldn't do any problem with the buses. But now, if you look at the employment, the way we are suffering with the work. I mean, Edmond, we are still suffering. I mean, there are so many people who are just from town, those workers and so on and so forth. Now they are bringing in buses. For me, one thing that is itching me is that one of the things is that check out the mechanics who have been eating on the taxis. People who are not even going to school. These guys taxis to earn a living. But now these buses are here. It's like you've got to go to school first. You've got to be trained first to drive those things. Then another issue is that when you look at the buses, who are the owners? These people who are the owners behind those buses have been talking their words, but they have never at any time stood on their words. For me, that is what is reaching me.
Spectrum, hello.
Good evening, Edmond.
Good evening. Your name?
I'm as usual.
Yes.
Thank you for hosting Honorable Nambooze, Mukono MP. First and foremost, we welcome the idea of the buses. And you know very well that Honorable Nambooze, plus his colleague, the Lord Mayor, they have been against these buses. What do you hope from them? And referring to the South African companies, my dear Nambooze, we are in Uganda. You know how people own buses and taxis. And on the point of that, Nambooze, you should also be aware that if you look at the nature of our transport, even you can cross-check the parliament. We also have a police on transport. And look at the mode of transport. Even the taxi you are just trying to put across, the way they came, I think people have been gambling. We don't have a police about our taxes. What type of tax should we import? Because most of the taxes you see in the tax park, they were meant for cargoes in Japan. So as far as we are concerned, Ugandans, we embrace the buses. And it's not important to know who owns the bus. Do you know who owns those taxes in the...
Spectrum, hello.
Hello?
Your name, sir?
Hello?
Hello, your name?
Hello?
Yes, you're live on Spectrum. Your name? Okay.
Hello?
Hello?
Edmond, good evening.
Good evening. Your name?
My name is John. I'm calling from Namungona.
Yes, John.
I want to advise Honorable Nambooze that hard taxis will still have businesses. We know they are fretting because the hard taxis are going to be disenfranchised. And then on top of that, I think Parliament is becoming a nuisance.
Okay.
If they are there opposing everything. Nambooze, if you have ever been out of this country, you know that developed cities have buses, not taxis. What is your problem?
All right, let's get back to the studio. Honorable Nambooze.
Okay, this debate is not for the faint-hearted and the compromised ones. And this is not a simple debate by any means. And most probably, that's why we are leaders. Maybe that is why I'm an MP and some of my colleagues are not MPs. At times, a leader must lead from the forefront. I want to quote from Nelson Mandela. He said once that at times leaders must move far ahead of the people they lead. That eventually when people find you, when you eventually reach there and wait for them to meet you there, they will appreciate why you had to leave them behind and go ahead of them.
Yes.
And I find that most probably Parliament is ahead of the rest of Ugandans, just because from where we are, we can see some things people don't see. Not because we are so clever and talented, but because we have an opportunity to be there. So I won't be bothered by propagandists like Mr. Mayanja Ronald. I know he does not live in Mukono. Already in Mukono, I'm a hero because of this thing.
Oh, really?
This is a petition which came from my people, signed by them, and there is no way you are saying that I'm acting contrary to their wishes.
Right.
So, Mr. Mayanja, I have to visit Mukono to know how popular this debate is, because I've had the time to talk to my people. The issue of phasing out taxes. You know, when you're a leader, you don't just wake up one day and say that group of people are a nuisance. Let's do away with them. We are supposed to provide for everyone. And then with Mr. Wamboga, it seems we are on the same page.
Principled investment.
Principled investment, fair methods of doing business. He is saying that don't be legalistic, but let me tell you, if you don't want to operate according to laws, you will never go anywhere. I've heard somebody who has said, Nambooze, remember that this is not South Africa, but you know we want to be like them, and then
they have an economy 20 times the size of ours.
Look here. Even these pioneer people are not buying their buses. They are getting a guarantee from your government.
Right.
And once they fail to pay this money, it will be you who will be paying this money. I wanted to recall a situation where Mr. Lukwago was fighting for the markets of Kampala when Basaja Balaba was taking them over. You know, I would hear, he was an MP by then, I was not. I would hear people who have been sponsored to make calling, to telephone on radio programs abusing him. But today, some years after, Parliament is there censoring ministers because of what Lukwago was fighting for. And everybody is saying, yes. Now that is the best idea. Tomorrow, these people who are calling saying, just look, somebody coming from Balala, traveling by bus.
Yes.
Will be dropped at Chengera, yes. And you will have to board another bus, because now when this pioneer thing is rolled out, no other vehicle will enter Kampala.
Right. Unless it's private.
And that will be just, those people will be paying more money. So, of course, this, as I told you, this is a very big debate for big minds. I know the mafias in Uganda have also graduated into something big. They can sponsor programs, news articles. They can sponsor people to call in on radio programs. They even telephone us, abuse us. But of course, so long as I'm standing on principle, so long as I know that my debate, my arguments are guided by reason.
Yes.
Even if I stand alone, I'll never be intimidated. Now, Parliament has found out a lot of data about this project.
After you raised it.
I don't have enough time to read each and every letter here in this big file.
Right.
But all in all, even the executive director today conceded.
He could
in
not
her own words, she said,
from
what we have heard, we cannot, the Pioneer Easy Bus cannot commence on 1st March. We have to create the bus lanes. We have to do so many things. If we want this, because at the end of the day, if you introduce buses today,
might be chaos.
We might end up like people in Kenya.
All right.
They introduced the buses alongside taxis, and today Nairobi is the city with the biggest traffic jam in East Africa. We don't like to end that in that election.
Right.
So what I'm saying is,
let's plan it.
Well, I'll be here next year by this time. Even if my prayers are upheld, or even if they are rejected,
yes,
time will
vindicate you, believe.
Yes, and I will stand in a better position tomorrow.
All right.
And even
we have to go.
Even those people who have not appreciated,
they'll stand on your side, maybe the ones who've been opposing you.
They'll stand on our side.
We have to go.
And I know I'm with the people of Mukono, and for this reason,
you are leading.
Yes.
Well, we have to go. Thank you very much, dear guests. Hon Betty Nambooze, Mukono Municipality MP, also Shadow Minister for Local Government.